You're watching France 24. Let's now take a look at the headlines. The man dubbed the Tony Blair of Italy looks set to become the new prime minister. That's Democratic Party leader Matteo Renzi. He's trying to replace current premier Enrico Letta, who is due to resign today. Belgium becomes the first country to grant terminally ill children of any age the right to die, despite some critics in the mostly Catholic country calling it a step too far. And tension on the rise again in Thailand. Thousands of riot police have moved in to Bangkok, trying to clear areas that have been occupied by protesters for weeks. Well, 9 years ago this Friday, Rafic Hariri was assassinated. The former Sunni Prime Minister of Lebanon was on his way home from lunch when a suicide bomber detonated a van full of explosives equivalent to 2.5 tons of TNT. That attack was initially blamed on pro-Syrian Lebanese generals, but a UN-backed tribunal set up to try the killers has now named 5 suspects, all alleged members of Hezbollah. What effect has Hariri's assassination had on Lebanon in the years since his death? That's the subject of today's Inside Look. Joining me for that now from Beirut is Imad Salamey. You're the author of the book, The Politics and Government of Lebanon. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on France 24.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, I think it's important to remind our viewers who exactly was Rafic Hariri and what did he do for Lebanon?
Yes, Rafic Hariri was a prominent politician, a Sunni leader who built a business empire in Saudi Arabia, but then came to Lebanon after the end of Lebanese civil war with the mission to build peace in Lebanon, to rebuild the country infrastructure that was destroyed after the civil war. And in fact, Rafic Hariri managed to do just that because he built the entire infrastructure of the country, from bridges to roads to telecommunication to airports to everything that you could think of. After a short while of his premiership as a prime minister of the Lebanese government, he managed to regain confidence in the country internationally and locally, and was able to manage to build stronger ties between Lebanese different sectarian groups. And therefore, in many ways, Rafic Hariri was building Lebanese independence and building the countries from scratch, making it more viable for economic investments and for the future of the people of Lebanon. And this definitely wasn't something that many regions were happy of, that Lebanon becoming little by little independent and drifting from the regional influence that they held traditionally over the country.
Well, what about Hariri's legacy now, 9 years on? Have his political ideals been respected and followed in the country?
Of course, the Lebanese by large loved Rafic Hariri because he was a man of peace. He wasn't putting them in confrontation with anyone. He wasn't trying to pursue a personal agenda or a strictly sectarian one. And therefore, his death brought many Lebanese to the realization that they must carry on his cause, his agenda, and they gathered on March 14, 2005, in order to demand the ousting of the Syrian troops and Syrian control over the country, and to demand independence. And indeed, they succeeded in doing that. They forced the Syrians out after their big demonstration, and little by little they established the people of Lebanon. They managed to hold election and to build the country and to carry on what Hariri implemented in the country. But this didn't suit many political parties in Lebanon tied to regional powers, particularly the group called March 8, led by Hezbollah, because in their views, Lebanon must remain part of a larger struggle and must held up to a confrontation movement against Israel in one way, or against what they perceived as Western influence into the country. So, you know, what Hariri started continued. However, the opposition to his plan led to the collapse of the Senura's government, and later on to the ousting of his son, Saad al-Hariri, totally from the country. And pretty much, you know, many of what Hariri tried to do in Lebanon have been reversed due to Hezbollah's opposition in one way and the Syrian oppositions and continuous influence in the country.
Sir, just very briefly before we go, you mentioned Rafic Hariri's son, Saad. He's just recently made quite a sharp U-turn in the past weeks, saying that his bloc was prepared not to join a unity government with Hezbollah. Why would he change his opinion so dramatically?
I mean, Saad Hariri doesn't have many options to work with. He knows that Hezbollah has a strong military infrastructure, and it can disrupt the entire country and may anytime engulf Lebanon into a sectarian war, bringing us back to the civil war. Saad al-Hariri realizes that, and is working with what's possible rather than what he really wishes to have the country looking like. And therefore, I think Saad al-Hariri would like to forge a minimal alliance with Hezbollah to formulate a government and to hold the country's peace without having it totally slip into a civil war, and perhaps try to negotiate and pressure Hezbollah gradually to become part of the Lebanese state and to hold its interest within Lebanese economy and peace, rather than being involved in the Syrian conflict and to continue its military approach to issues in the region.
Thank you so much, Imad Salamey. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you for speaking to us, sir, from Beirut, and we apologize for the poor quality of that Skype line there from Beirut. All right, next for you on France 24 Sports. First up, the latest from the Sochi Winter Games.
Martin Fourcade secured his second Olympic biathlon gold medal at the Sochi Winter Games with victory in the men's 20-kilometer event. Fourcade, who won the 12.5-kilometer pursuit on Monday, missed just one of his 20 targets with his rifle, which was impressive, but it was the skiing which made the difference. The Frenchman was very quick. He finished 12.2 seconds ahead of German Eric Lesser, who was perfect at the shooting range. Russian Evgeny Garinachev took the bronze. Poland's Justyna Kowalczyk overcame an ankle injury to win the women's 10-kilometer classic cross-country race. Kowalczyk's win also saw her become her country's most successful Winter Olympian of all time with 5 medals. Sweden's Charlotte Kalla picked up her second silver of the Games, while bronze went to Therese Johaug of Norway. One of Russia's most decorated athletes, Yevgeny Plushenko, has retired from ice skating. The 31-year-old pulled out of the men's individual figure skating event at the Sochi Olympics just seconds before he had been due to start his short program. Plushenko, who has had 12 operations, fell on triple axel in his warm-up only moments before he told the judges he couldn't carry on. Lens came from behind to stun Ligue 1 side Lyon and reached the last 8 of the French Cup. All seemed to be going to plan for the hosts as Jimmy Briand headed in after 9 minutes at the Stade Lens. The 5-time winners on their way through. But Lens, currently third in France's second tier, were awarded a penalty in stoppage time after Mehdi Zefan brought down Adamo Koulibaly. Pierre Valdivia netted to force extra time. And Jean-Philippe Gabama won it with a 94th minute header. 2-1, Lens travelled to Monaco in the last 8. Paris Saint-Germain enter a very important week as they entertain Valenciennes on Friday evening before their crucial Champions League last 16 encounter with Leverkusen on Tuesday. The French Ligue 1 leaders, who played out a 1-1 draw with their main rivals Monaco on Sunday, need a much-needed mental energy boost. That, according to their coach, Laurent Blanc.
No, I
don't think this is physical tiredness. It's rather maybe a bit of mental tiredness. Granted, it's a form of tiredness anyway, so we need to try to become fresh again. We're not going to complain. I'm not complaining. We've been playing every 3 days since the month of January. We knew it was going to be like this, and we got ready for this. Now we have a big challenge coming, which is, of course, the Champions League. Leverkusen, who stand second in the Bundesliga behind runaway leaders Bayern, were dumped out of the German Cup on Wednesday by Kaiserslautern. So they're looking to bounce back at the Bayer Arena next week. Blanc is very much aware that the club is entering a crucial time of the season. The succession of games, always aiming for victory as we are Paris Saint-Germain. We've done this often. We did this in the last minutes in Nantes, for example. Physical tiredness can also induce mental fatigue. The pitches are heavy as well. PSG will have to make do without striker Edinson Cavani, who is still out injured, but defender Christophe Jallet has almost fully recovered from injury. Sochaux coach Hervé Renard will be appointed the new boss of the Moroccan national team, according to the Frenchman's agent. Renard, who guided Zambia to the 2012 Africa Cup and Nations title, is reportedly set to sign a contract once the new president of the country's football federation is appointed. He's expected to take up his post once the French Ligue 1 season ends. Juan Martín del Potro faced a tricky test against Paul-Henri Mathieu in his second-round match of the ATP event in Rotterdam. Last year's champion, who's struggling with a wrist injury, was knocked out of the Australian Open second round, but he followed up his first-round win over Gael Monfils in Rotterdam with 2 breaks in the opening set here against Mathieu, the Argentine, taking it 6-2. The Frenchman improved in the second set, but del Potro eased through a tiebreak to book a quarter-final tie with Ernest Gulbis, 6-2, 7-6. Latvian Ernest Gulbis showed plenty of fighting spirit in the Netherlands to battle past 8th seed Grigor Dimitrov of Bulgaria. Gulbis fired down an ace to clinch the first set, 6-4. He finished with 12 before chipping away at the Australian Open quarter-finalists in the second set. He staved off 5 break points and steered the second into a tie-break, where he showed great composure to move 6-3 up before setting up his last 8 encounter with del Potro with a cross-court backhand winner. Thomas Berdych is also safely through after a routine win over France's Nicolas Mahut. The Czech had a great start to 2014, making it to the Australian Open semi-finals, and he was never in any trouble against the grass court specialist. The world number 7 needed 1 break of serve to take the opening set, and a single break was all Berdych needed in the second set. 6-4, 6-3, the Czech looking for his 9th ATP title. Jerzy Janowicz next up for him.
All right, well, it's been exactly 1 year since Oscar Pistorius shot dead his girlfriend on Valentine's Day. Today, the South African Paralympic sprint star finally broke his silence on the affair. More on that coming up after the break.
France in Focus.